guys, and welcome back to Reading Club. Today I'm going to read you Dirty Bertie Yuck, the second story, Chapter 1. Don't you look smart, beamed Mum. Come and look in the mirror. Bertie plodded into the hall and scowled at his reflection. He was wearing a sailor suit. It was Victorian History Day at school, and everyone was supposed to come in costume. Mum had found the sailor suit in the cherry bush. Bertie thought it was the drippiest thing he'd ever seen. The white trousers flapped above his ankles. The shirt had a stupid floppy collar. The hat had a wobbly blue pom-pom. There, what do you think? Asked Mum. Bertie pulled a face. I look like a girl, he said. Bertie, that's what boys used to wear in those days. I think you look very smart. Can't I go as a pirate? I've got the eye patch and everything. It's Victorian Day, sighed Mum. They didn't have pirates. A dustman, then, said Bertie. No, or a robber. I bet they had robbers. Bertie, said Mum, I went to a lot of trouble to find you this costume, and you're going to wear it. Now hurry up and get ready. Bertie stomped up the stairs to look for his shoes. It's not fair, he thought. Why were parents always telling you what to wear? He didn't go round telling them what to wear. In his bedroom, Bertie stared gloomily at himself in the wardrobe mirror. All his friends would have much better costumes than him. Donna was going as a flower girl and Eugene as a butler. Darren had said he was coming as a chimney sweep, which Bertie wished he thought of himself. All he had was a sailor suit with a stupid collar and a silly pom-pom. Maybe if he get rid of the collar, the show wouldn't look so bad. Rip. Uh-oh. He seemed to have torn it. Now the collar was hanging loose on one side. His mum would have a fit if she saw it. He yanked at the other side to even it up. Rip. Yikes, that had only made things worse. The collar had come off with the shirt had a big rip in it. Now he looked like a scruffy old beggar. Bertie stared. What a brilliant idea. He could go as a beggar. In Victorian times, there were millions of beggars. He could hardly walk down the street without tripping over one. And he wouldn't even have to change his costume. All it needed was a few small alterations. Now, where did Mum keep the scissors? Bertie! Mum shouted. What are you doing up there? You're going to be late. Coming, said Bertie. He thumped downstairs and landed in the hall. Mum stared in horror. Bertie, what have you done? It's my costume, said Bertie. I'm a beggar. Bertie was still wearing a sailor suit, or what was left of it. The sleeves hung in tatters. The white trousers looked like they'd been attacked by killer moths. Bertie had got a little carried away with the scissors. Bertie's feet were bare and he was wearing a scruffy old cap on his head. Mum leaned heavily against the front door. So sorry. How did this happen? She groaned. I did it myself, beamed Bertie. I can see that. You've completely ruined your costume. Bertie shrugged. Beggars don't wear sailor suits, he said. They have to look poor. If they went around in sailor suits, no one would give them any money. Mum peered at him closely. What's that on your face? Dirt, said Bertie. No, those red blotches. You look like you've got measles. Oh, yes, said Bertie. Poor people were always getting plagues and diseases. We did it in school. Don't worry, it's only felt pen. It'll probably come off. Mum passed a hand over her eyes. Bertie, please, you don't go to school like that. Why not? Said Bertie. Miss Booth said to come as a Victorian, so I am. I'm coming as a beggar. But you look like a scarecrow. That's how beggars look, said Bertie. No one said anything about having to be smart. Mum looked at her watch. They were late already. Chapter 2. The Victorian Day turned out to be a bit of a disappointment. Bertie had been hoping they might play some Victorian games or try some Victorian sweets, but Miss Boot had other ideas. To get into the spirit of the day, she had brought a cane. She made them sit in rows and practice their handwriting in silence. If anyone spoke or laughed or burped, they had to go and stand in the corner. Bertie spent quite a lot of time in the corner. After school, Mum collected him and they stopped off at the supermarket. Bertie usually liked helping with the shopping. If he pushed the trolley and didn't bash to anyone, Mum let him have chocolate cake at the cafe. But today they had Whiffer with them. "Sorry," said Mum, "he'll have to wait out here." "Why?" asked Bertie. Mum pointed at a sign by the door. It said, "No dogs allowed," in big red letters. Whiffer whined and wagged his tail at Bertie. "I'm so sorry." "I'll stay with him," said Bertie. "He gets lonely on his own." "All right," said Mum, but don't go anywhere." "And Bertie." "What?" "Please take off that horrible hat." Bertie took off his hat and sat down beside Whiffer. Whiffer rested his head on Bertie's lap and closed his eyes. Shoppers passing by glanced down at the ragged, dirty-faced boy and his dog sitting on the pavement. Some of them tutted to themselves, while others shook their heads and gave him pitying looks. Bertie didn't notice people were staring. He was busy checking Whiffer's fur for fleas. Suddenly, a woman bent down, smiled, and dropped a 50-pence coin into his hat. Bertie looked up in surprise. People didn't usually give him money, at least not total strangers. Did they think he was begging or something? He looked down at his ragged clothes and muddy shoes. Of course, he was still dressed as a beggar. The woman must have thought his hat was there to collect money. Bertie was thrilled. "This is fantastic," he thought. "I bet Eugene doesn't get mistaken for a real butler." Wait till he told his friends about this tomorrow. This costume was even better than he thought. Bertie tried out his sad face, waiting for someone else to pass by. It worked. The next person, a man in a smart coat, dropped 20 pence into his hat. 50 plus 20, that made him 70 pence already. At this rate, he would be rich, and all he had to do was sit on the pavement looking sorry for himself. Chapter 3. For the next 15 minutes, Bertie tried out different expressions on the shoppers passing by. Smiling, he found, was no use at all. It was better to look as if your pet earthworm had just died. Some shoppers hurried on past without paying any attention, but several stopped, and soon Bertie's hat was filling up with shiny coins. He was just about to count what he had earned when a woman stopped in front of him. She was wearing a brown fur coat and a matching hat. "You poor child," she stuttered. "Where is your mother?" "Oh, she's not here," stammered Bertie, putting on a sad face. "You mean she just left you by yourself? Is she coming back?" "Well, I expect so," said Bertie, glancing towards the supermarket. "I expect she'll be back later." He hoped it would be much later. "And does she know you are begging?" asked the woman. "Oh, yes, it's okay. She doesn't mind," said Bertie. "She wants me to beg." "Good heavens," said the woman, sounding horrified. "Are you saying she forces you to do this?" "Oh, no, not forces me to, but if I don't do any begging, we won't get any supper," said Bertie. "Because my family are very, very poor. Poor as anything. My dad's actually a chimney sweep," he added by the way of explanation. The woman bent closer. She stared at the ugly red blotches in Bertie's face. "You poor boy, how long have you been living like this?" "You don't look well at all," she murmured. "I'm okay, really," said Bertie. "It's probably just a bit of plague or something." The woman quickly took a step back. "You stay here," she said. "Stay there while I go and fetch someone." Bertie waited till the woman had gone into the supermarket. He felt it would be wise to disappear before she came back. Whoever she had gone to fetch could only lead to trouble. He picked up his hat full of coins, but just at that moment the woman reappeared from the next to his left. She was followed by a tall security guard in a brown uniform. They were both marching towards him with a determined look. Bertie did the only thing his hat he could think of. He fled, jamming his hat onto his head. He darted into the supermarket with Whiffer at his heels. "Hey!" cried the guard. "Come back!" Chapter 4. Bertie looked around, desperate for somewhere to hide. People were staring at his ragged clothing and tutting at the sight of Whiffer. In his panic, he'd forgotten that dogs weren't allowed in the supermarket. As he dithered, the guard appeared in the doorway and spotted him. "Hey!" he cried. Grabbing the nearest trolley, Bertie picked up Whiffer and plonked him in the basket. Then he set off at top speed, pushing the trolley in front of him. "You wait! Come back!" cried the guard, chasing after him. Bertie didn't stop to explain. He raced down the fruit aisle, scattering startled shoppers in his path. Sorry, can't stop," he panted. A woman stepped out in front of him and froze with a pineapple in her hands. At the last moment, Bertie swerved around her and skidded past the cheese counter. Glancing back, he caught sight of the guard puffing after him. He sped down the next aisle, narrowly missing a tower of toilet rolls. Whiffer was standing up the trolley, barking excitedly. Bertie looked up just in time to see a trolley parked across the aisle, blocking his way. The owner was reaching up to a shelf for a box of eggs. Her mouth fell open when she saw Bertie hurtling towards her. It was Mum. Bertie tried to slam on the brakes, but the trolley didn't seem to have any. Crash! Whiffer went flying through the air and landed in Mum's arms. Mum's shopping went flying too. A dozen eggs hit the floor with a crunch, followed by a print of milk and a shower of cornflakes. "Bertie!" cried Mum. "What on earth?" Bertie was about to explain when the security guard caught up with them. He stood panting for breath as the lady in the fur coat appeared, along with the small crowd, keen to see what all the fuss was about. Mum sat in a pool of milk, staring at Bertie. "Is this your son?" demanded the guard. "I'm afraid so," said Mum, turning a little pink. "We'll pay for any damage." "Never mind that," said the guard. "There's a law against it." "You should be ashamed of yourself," interrupted the lady. "Me?" said Mum. "Sending a boy of his age out on the streets to beg," said the lady. "I've a good mind to report you." "I'm sorry, I don't know what you're talking about," said Mum. "Begging," said the lady. "Begging," said Mum. She looked at Bertie. "Oh, I see. I'm afraid you've made a mistake. He's only dressed like that for school. He wasn't actually begging, were you, Bertie?" There was an awkward silence as everyone looked at Bertie. He pulled off his hat, hoping he might look more sorry without it. A shower of coins tumbled out and hit the floor, running in all directions. Said Bertie. "I can explain." Well, that's the end of this channel. If you'd like to, please click many likes and subscribe, Reading Club. I'll come back later with a new and improved channel. Bye, guys.